listened to any country music radio station in the last decade, or clicked on any Spotify playlist loosely related to country music, you're probably very familiar with the name Sam Hunt. He's a guy that I've wanted to talk about on the channel for a long time now, but I've just never really got the chance to. However, with the release of his new song, 23, I saw this as a great chance to not only talk about the song, because, spoiler alert, I love it, but also just Sam Hunt in general, because he might be the most intriguing star in the mainstream country world for me. He might not be my favorite, but he's definitely up there as the most intriguing. But first, little housekeeping thing. I'm in a new room again. This is where I'll actually probably permanently be. I just moved in within the last 2 weeks or so, and if you couldn't tell, there's a massive window of opportunity here. I've got a shelf now, so drop some comments, send me some messages of what do you want to see on this shelf? What should we do? Even the background in general. I don't know if there's any wall space in the shot here, but let's make it a little more personal. Let's make it kind of cool. I want to grow this with you guys, so be sure to comment ideas for that. And yeah, before we get into it, obviously all the socials are down below. The podcast, the Discord, the Instagram, go follow, join, and listen to those. And without further ado, I think we're just going to jump in, and I want to begin with the actual song, 23. Obviously, 23 is Sam's most recent release, but it actually goes back quite a bit. About a year and a half ago, he posted a video to his Instagram that was just over a minute long of just him and his band in the studio, just jamming out to this song. It was very acoustic, it was very rough, but it was very pretty. And I found it in like September, then I found it on his Instagram later. I kind of went backwards, but I just fell in love with it from the beginning. From there, he performed it at the Red Rocks, and that was the full song, and that's when I really fell in love with it. I downloaded the Red Rocks version to my phone so I could listen to it just like a normal song privately. Unfortunately, the Red Rocks performance has been taken off YouTube since the official release. It's probably something promotional, but long story short, I just really fell in love with this song, and I think the reason for that is the lyrics. The songwriting, the storytelling in this song is really some of Sam's best, because it's not only a super simple story, but I also think he delivered it in a very appealing way that it might not be the most intricate thing, but it's a great balance of like mass appeal, easy listen, and some pretty intricate songwriting. The song is essentially Sam singing to a past lover, saying, you can do all these things, you can move as far away as possible, you can try and bury your past as much as you want, but at the end of the day, we were a part of each other's lives. We were very significant, and that is a part that you will not be able to erase. You'll never be 23 without me, and vice versa. I'll never be 23 without you. We played too big of a role for you to just cover up, so no matter how hard you try, it'll always be there. It really is a very simple, pleasing story, but I think what really pulls it all together is the songwriting, the attention to detail, the specific locations he name drops. We've got architects building houses on the water, Delta Knights riding the train to work to be in an office building wearing a skirt that this girl hates. We got wine in California, acting like your folks aren't from Mississippi, his first time in New Orleans, Tennessee, Foley Beach in South Carolina. All these details just really ground the song, and the big thing is it makes it personal. It's not Sam singing a super vague story so that you can put yourself in the character's shoes and kind of be like, oh, like I can hear myself in this song. No, it's Sam telling a story. It's Sam saying, this is what happened to me, let me tell you. And I don't know, I just find that a lot more appealing as a listener, because I know what's going on with me. So even though there's plenty of songs where you can plug yourself in, I think there's something really powerful about an artist telling a story that's specific to them. But obviously there's the more divisive side that I think is the divisive side of every Sam Hunt song, and that is the production. Because it definitely was a bit of a shock to the system when I first heard the studio version, because I fell in love with the originals, the Instagram video and the Red Rocks, which are both these very acoustically driven songs with lots of moving guitar parts, creates this very hazy, floating, nostalgic vibe. But then the studio version, on the other hand, is this driving southern pop beat that keeps the song moving nice and short, 3-minute runtime. And to be honest, even though I'm sure a lot of people dislike the studio version and they're like, oh, he should have released the acoustic version like the thing he put out on YouTube, I don't mind either. Mostly because I think they're both well done. They just provide different experiences. Obviously, I fell in love with the original and the more acoustic recordings, but the studio version was, I think, done really well. I don't think many people do Southern pop as good and as unique as Sam Hunt. So in that way, they just create two different vibes. It's not that the original tells the story better than the studio version. It's just they both add this little narrative tint that kind of changes the way you hear the song. I think the original with the more acoustic style definitely evokes a lot more nostalgia and maybe a bit of a more minor or sad feeling. Looking back on it in a sad way, saying, oh, I miss those days, like, you'll never be 23 without me, and you can go off and do all these things. I'll just be here by myself sad. Whereas the new one almost feels like a bit of a more comedic, like, laughing back, like, hey, we can go off and do all these things, but isn't it funny to know that we'll always be a part of each other in that way? We'll always be connected deep down. So, say what you want about production. For me, I don't actually know which one I prefer because, like I said, I think they're both really well done. I don't think the production necessarily squashed it, but I also understand, especially a lot of the viewers of this channel, probably cling more towards that acoustic sound, in which case, I would say download the Red Rocks version, but obviously it's not there anymore, so I don't know, I guess that just sucks. But yeah, a lot of people, when I showed them the original recordings, they then saw the studio as a letdown, but I don't know. I just think I fell in love with the core of the song. It's not a specific melody, a specific rhythm, a specific guitar lick or riff that I fell in love with. It was the story, the core of the song, and that didn't change or get lost in the studio version, I find. I think it's just told in a different way. You'll probably hear more about this in the year rewind, little spoiler alert, but those are my thoughts for now. And now I want to move on to just Sam Hunt in general, because if you couldn't tell by the title or the intro, the guy just intrigues me. And that intrigue starts with his very unorthodox career timeline. Obviously, he arrived in 2014 with his debut album, Montevallo, which was an absolute smash. And by smash, I mean the most streamed country album of all time. Albums like Red by Taylor Swift, This One's For You by Luke Combs. That's a big eye-opener because anyone else remember how friggin' big Luke Combs was? Sam Hunt was bigger than that. And I guess I never really grasped that when it first happened, obviously because I would have been in grade school still at the time. But looking back, it's still just, it never hit me that it was that big. But no, Montevallo was huge, and I think it's because it brought something new. He was one of the first people to unapologetically put pop or rap sounds in country music and not even try to hide it. So it was able to reach that ginormous audience that so many country artists are reaching for now. But Sam was kind of the first to do it, unless I'm completely forgetting somebody. So you would think then that his label would just want to push out music. Get this out, we've got an absolute goldmine here. But not really. He put out an acoustic mixtape in 2015, bit of a curveball, very hit or miss for me, but overall I think it's definitely an interesting sound that he went for. But then he just kind of went dormant. 2017 though, he dropped Body Like a Back Road, and that really turned him into like a household name in the world of country music, and just even in general. I bet like at least 70% of pop fans even know who Sam Hunt is now. So then you would think, okay, we're gonna get like an album or something. But no, it wouldn't be until April of 2020, at the height of the global pandemic, Sam would come at us with his sophomore album, Southside. An album that to this day just remains one big question mark to me. Because even if it might not be the objective best, it's very scattered, but it's very captivating. And I think the captivation comes from his vulnerability, his willingness to just be open. I find it very admirable. Yes, you're gonna get songs like Kinfolks. You're gonna get the more bland written songs. You're gonna get the more poppy trap songs. But you're also gonna get songs like Drinking Too Much. And you're also gonna get songs like Breaking Up Was Easy in the 90s, which I think is probably the best blend of genres he's done maybe ever. And my favorite song from that album, 2016. Like, he really does provide everything on that album. Kind of just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. But going back to the vulnerability, I just never would have expected something like that from someone in Sam's spot. But I think that's because even Sam really just doesn't accept the spot he's in, which transitions nicely into the next reason why he intrigues me so much, and that's just his general outlook on fame. I think Bobby Bones put it best in the title of an interview with Sam, calling him a reluctant star. The more interviews I watch, the more this guy's attitude towards the celebrity life just fascinates me, and the more I seem to like him, because it's very evident in every interview he does. Sam just refuses to change a single thing about himself since he's received all of this fame. Which, obviously, everyone who becomes famous is going to say, oh, it's not going to change me. But it does. But I think Sam is a prime example of literally nothing changing. Every time he goes to Starbucks, he's going to stand in line like a normal person, order it by his name. He thought it was stupid when his manager told him to book a hotel under a different name, but he ended up settling for his middle name. Just things like this. He remains so authentic. He's not trying to be or say he's something he's not. He's very straightforward about just being an average guy who enjoys making music and happened to make a career out of it.
I'm even uncomfortable with the word star. Like, even hearing that, like, makes me cringe a little bit.
And I also think it's this authenticity that makes his music come off as more creative and less annoying or trend chasing, because A, Sam kind of sets trends in a way, but also he's not coming out here like a lot of the pop stars saying like, you know, I grew up listening to like dusty vinyls because I grew up in the 30s, and I make this country music. I listen to these people explicitly. I would not dare touch a non-country piece of music ever. I have created this country masterpiece that is inspired by these artists, and you get it, and it's like freaking a piece of pop trash. But Sam says what he's gonna make, and then he makes it. He's been very honest about saying how he grew up in the country, he grew up listening to country music, but as he got older, he fell in love with rap music, and he wanted to write songs, and he enjoyed the storytelling of country music, and he wanted to write about the things that surrounded him, which was the country, but when he wrote songs, they typically fell in more rap rhythms and cadences. And you really hear that in his music. It's not just like bottom of the barrel, pop country, formulaic music. There is something original to it, and I think there's really something there. I think there's something of value when it's original and authentic. I have a whole new respect for his music. Even if I don't necessarily like it, like Montevallo, I cannot listen through that thing, but I have a whole new respect for it because he's not trying to say it's something it's not. It's authentic. I'm saying that word so much, but it's the correct word for this situation. So yeah, like I said, you don't have to like it. I don't even like Montevallo, but I just find the authenticity refreshing. I find the fact that there is a celebrity who doesn't necessarily want to be a celebrity, I find that interesting. He's really not chasing after the fame and success, and it's just refreshing to see in a world where everyone's chasing after the stadium tour. Everyone's chasing after the #1 spot on radio. For someone to just truly be making their music, not that there aren't people that already do that stay true to themselves, but someone in Sam's spot doing it is just different, because I feel like it would be so easy for him to cheap out and just make an album every single year and get all sorts of money and all sorts of fame and whatnot. But he doesn't do that. He just does what he wants. If he was after the fame and success, he wouldn't wait 6 years between albums. He wouldn't release an album at the height of the pandemic when you can't tour it anyways. He wouldn't bring a bluegrass band for a radio interview tour and play bluegrass music. Like, the dude has talked about how since the quarantine started, he's just been getting really into bluegrass music. And with the unpredictability of Sam Hunt and just the follow his own arrow attitude he has, I wouldn't be surprised if one day we get a bluegrass album from Sam Hunt, and I'd freaking love it. Because if you see the videos, if you follow him on Instagram, he's posted a few videos, and man, they sound great. Obviously, being a country fan, liking my stringed instruments, I'm gonna love it. But it's just cool to hear, because you're never gonna hear Jimmy Allen do that. And if you do, it was probably because there were some country legends in the room, and he wanted to be like, look how country I am. Let me just take all my like chains off and my bedazzled jeans, and then I'll sing you a bluegrass song. So yeah, I'm gonna stop myself there because I could ramble for quite a while and just run in circles. In fact, that's what I did for about 4 attempts at this video. Just rambling, running in circles, getting absolutely nowhere, and then I wind up with like a 30-minute recording, and it's like, well, that's no good. This video is already kind of long, but it's much more focused this time around. That's the gist of what I wanted to say. I just wanted to come on and kind of like vent my fascination of Sam Hunt, because I think he's a really humble, likable guy. I know some people took issue with some of the lyrics on Southside, saying it made him look like a bit of an a-hole. I don't read it that way, but as I was saying on the episode 8 of the podcast, which will be coming soon, everyone hears music differently. No one hears it right or wrong. Sam's one of those people that I'm always going to be looking forward to new music from him. I'm always going to check it out. He's always going to be at like the top of my priority list. Even if his track record has been bumpy and I absolutely despise some of his music, I absolutely love some of it, and he's always going to keep me coming back, and I think that's cool. So anyways, that's all I've got for you guys today. Be sure to comment below. I'd love to know what you guys think of Sam Hunt in general. What do you think of the points I made? Do you agree? Do you completely disagree? Yeah, as I said earlier, links to my Instagram, Discord, and podcast are all in the description below. Be sure to give those a follow, join it, listen to the podcast. We got some podcast content coming. We've got an update to the podcast coming soon, which I will talk about probably when it happens. I'm probably just going to announce it as it happens. And yeah, I think I've said everything I needed to say. So until next time, have a great day.